This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. How nice to be with you again. What a great time this is. Whoa, we're cooking.
It is an amazing time, and we're talking about an amazing topic, which is our evolving containers of being. Each of us is experiencing evolution in our box of limits that we call me. We are all works in progress, no matter what our level of awareness is. And so stay tuned, because we're going to be talking about what it is like to go beyond into the surprising new you emerging. Beyond what? Beyond what?
Well, that's what we'll talk about.
Okay, great. That's a word missing there.
And everyone, we so enjoy you being with us. And if you like being with us, please consider checking out our radio show website. And that is www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And there you're going to find all these wonderful live shows that have become podcasts. So no matter what time of day or week or month it is, you can join us and catch up on things. And since there's no time, you're just part of the meeting. You'll find out all our blogs. Joan and I both write about what we notice about life and our actions. And about our meetup. Joan is in Puget Sound, and we both host places and spaces. And Joan and I both have personal sessions with you, the listener. So anyone wants that, like to play all kinds of things. So, and you'll find all our Twitter, Facebook, YouTube links at that space. So social media, we're kind of on there, and check in with us. And we have an offer for people, listeners, to contact at the website, right, Joan?
Yes, we do. So if you go to our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com, you can get a special gift, actually special gifts, because it's one from Janet and one from me. So from Janet, you get, what are they getting, Janet?
I don't remember anymore.
Actually, it used to be like 10 top tips for enjoying life, but it's actually 27, because Janet always is a huge giver. Now she's got something new.
Yeah, right. I think it's just about what it takes to enjoy life and principles, principles that are good to put into place. And,
right.
Yeah. So there's like 13 of them. And you're offering what? So
yes, and I am offering it's a tool, it's a technique, because what I specialize in is teaching people how to do it for themselves, so teaching them consciousness tools. And so I have a special one that really is going to help you with all the transformation that's going on. These tools are subtle, but they're incredibly profound. You can do them at any time, whenever it occurs to you, and it can initiate just enormous change in your life. So those are both very valuable things. Janet's perspective on life is incredibly calming and helps you through honestly, it can help you through any kind of crisis you might be going through. You just feel like you're just in a big raft or inner tube going down the lazy river with a Mai Tai. So I highly recommend it. And just go to our website, get that gift, and find out all the other things that we have on it. And I wanted to put in a plug for the next event that I have coming up, which I am going to be at Emerald Spiral Expo in Kent, and that is going to be on September 22nd. It's all day long from 9, I have to get there by 8, 9 o'clock to 5. I will be doing consciousness sessions, but I'm also going to be at 1 o'clock doing a special talk on rediscovering your life purpose and regaining your passion. It's such an important topic for us nowadays because there is so much transformation going on that our identities are shifting and changing, and it can be very disorienting. So,
especially when your purpose and your mission and all that change, right?
Yes.
I mean, we have to keep up with ourselves sometimes. It's very funny. So, I wanted to let you know that we both hold up meetups, and mine are going to take place here in my home in Portland, Oregon. And we do Tuesday evenings, Thursdays after. You can find out more at the website, me personally, or meetup.com. And we have conscious conversations here. And heartily, I recommend the joy of being in touch with yourself. And we're going to be talking about that today and different things. And also on Thursday, if you're not local, Thursdays I have host Zoom video conferencing live interactive groups. And those are 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Pacific. And you can register for that. There's a registration info packet at those at Janet B at janetandjohn.com to get that. No matter where you are in the world, you can join us live. And we have just a marvelous time. They're small groups that whatever's going on in your life gets exercised. So consider joining. Oh gosh, Joan. So everyone, we're a little kind of giddy here, not in a bad way, but we've been expanding time.
Yes. And I'm still stuck on a phrase that you said because I heard it wrong.
Oh, dear.
Because you were saying about the joy of getting in touch with yourself, and I heard it as the joy of touching yourself. So I was kind of off in a different direction for it.
I heard myself.
Janet, did you say that on the air?
I said it right.
You did. I heard it wrong. It is just an incredible time of growth and change, and it's impacting everybody individually and in different kinds of ways. And our container of being, that a sense of our who we are and ourselves, is expanding. And just imagine what it has to do to go from the little solid dense container that you're used to, cat in a small box, to cat in a refrigerator sized box.
Yeah, and what we're talking about, listeners, and you probably, this is the awareness of what you think you are and who you are. And when I started with consciousness technologies of a couple different kinds years ago, it was because of my backstory that to fit in was really important. And I didn't have a sense of how I fit in and fit into what. And when I got started with this work, I realized, and I heard, you're talking about your limits, your box, how you find yourself. And I'm like, oh, great, that's what I'm looking for. And then they blew the box apart. They did all kinds of things with the box. I expanded beyond my limits of what I had constructed as who I am. And in doing that, I totally changed my life, dying to live. And so I appreciate the power that comes from how they have consciousness with them. And that definition, lots of really is in the box, out of the box. Where's your box? Is there space? There's nothing wrong with having the box.
So, Janet?
Yeah. What do you say?
Speaking of boxes and containers, We have to stop for a commercial break, but stay tuned because when we come back, we'll be talking about evolving containers of being.
Okay.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I am your host, Joan, and I'm along here with Janet. And we are talking about evolving containers of being. And now all I can see is cats and boxes.
Okay.
Meow.
Yeah. Well, that might be okay. They're pretty content with how they deal with the world. I don't know that there's a lot of shifting. I have no idea. I don't think.
Well, I will have to say now that I'm starting to get some concentration back here, is besides this being about identity, it is also really about our physical form and how our physical form holds us as consciousness. And there just feels like I have felt that our energy systems are upgrading. And it never occurred to me that our energy systems and our bodies actually coincide simultaneously. We have an energetic body that occupies the physical body that's separate from us as consciousness. And so the feeling of being in form is really different now. And I guess the best way I can describe it is it's a little bit different than sitting in a brand new car that has this great sort of computer system and sitting in a Dodge Dart from 1982 or 74 or something.
Right. The systems are getting sophisticated, and how we operate out of that is interesting. But I do think that one thing's going on certainly is being comfortable with change, being comfortable with ease, and how these, in this tumultuous and then this energetic place a couple of weeks ago with our equinoxes or whatever they all were, where everything came to a halt or reversed itself, and then as that eases those, now all those words are nonsense.
Are you looking out the window?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Just checking. They're, what is it? Retrogrades. right?
Oh, right.
Everything kind of stops and appears to reverse itself, or
Right.
appears to stop. And it changes everything. And what it does is it gives us the space to stop and re-engage. And I think that's what we're in and what we're coming out of. And we're always, each of us is at a different place in our awareness of how we experience this. And so you can see where people are, how they're choosing to engage this time. And whether it's in passing over, whether it's taking a break and a hiatus that wasn't intended, wasn't planned for, but shows up. It's just appreciating that how everything is changing. And it's just not our technology. It's our interior technology. I think that's a good.
Yeah, right. It is. It's our interior technology that is changing. It's upgrading. And I have to say that, my original training, I went through 5 years in a mystery school, and I worked and taught at that place for like 13 years. And it was a very specific training about what our energy systems were and energetically looked like. And it was the chakra system. It's basically been in place for thousands of years. And so there's an assumption of, of it being static. And as I'm talking now, it's like that. The other thing that I was trained is that only 10% of us as consciousness can come into form. And so that meant that 90% of us actually exist outside of form. And the way that has changed my awareness and my perception and how it feels different now is that I am more embodied. My body feels lighter, and it's not like 90% is outside of form. Those percentages are all kind of out the window. It's like I am consciousness, which is infinite, and I am occupying form in a lighter, less dense way. So all the measurements that I used to use, which was like, grounding and increased gravity and all those things, all of that is shifting and changing to a more buoyant reality.
Mm-hmm.
Very much like your reality is all the time, isn't it, Janet?
It's a constant unfolding in here, which is just you just have to go, oh, okay, how does that really, as you get less attached, life becomes fascinating. It drops the mystery, because that's one thing that I've been going through is, I'm just kind of a different kind of body and energy, et cetera, and instead of that being mysterious anymore and driving me nuts, creating a field of frustration, there's just been this opening here that, information differently, and now, and so I don't have to work so hard. I don't have to make myself fit. So, and so.
So I'm not actually, Janet. I'm having difficulty hearing everything. We're probably in two different dimensional levels here.
Okay.
So I missed the last little thing you said. Maybe everybody else heard it, and I'm in a different dimensional level, because I can tell you it certainly feels that way to me.
Yeah, really. So everyone who's listening, who can hear and not hear.
Now I can hear you fine. You're great.
Okay. So in just bringing it closer, right? Allowing all that stuff. And that's what's happening, because this works real time, guys. And we are acknowledging ourselves as consciousness. And it's easy, that veil that you think you have to maintain. Just let it be and let it shift. Be present. There we go. Just be present. And all that energy or that letting that container go,
I think she now let the container go again, but you were doing great there for a while.
Yeah. So just let the container go, right? That's what we're talking about today. Let the container become something else. Let it become permeable. Let it change its shape. Let it change its texture. And what you're doing is you're actively playing with that internal technology right in this moment. So just allow yourself to notice that. And I know we never like what we would call dead space on the air, but if you're paying attention, there is nothing dead about the space. It is just in transition. You can feel it. You can feel all those pieces falling away, coming back. Just allow it. And as we come into this new realignment, there is such a groundswell of excitement. And you're kind of tagging that with Joan and I when we started the show, because we've been busy always bring our awareness to what our topic is and how we play with that. And we go, whoa. So our engagement together is expanding us.
Our engagement is definitely expanding us, and it's a very, very interesting thing. It is, for me, what I am noticing is that my sensitivity is heightened. I believe that all of us are becoming more extrasensorily perceptive. So and it depends on what your natural inclinations are. So if you're naturally a visual person, your visual senses might be heightened to the point of feeling clairvoyant. If you're kind of a kinesthetic person, you might be feeling stuff much more sensitive when you put your hands on things. If you're just a naturally emotional, sympathetic person, you might be feeling empathetically more than you've ever had before. So I actually emotionally, feel people moving in and out of my space. And it's also much more distinct now that I can tell. And it's, people from thousands of miles away. So if you're not used to it, it can be kind of an overwhelming time and you don't know what's going on in your space. But it's kind of like we are all much more energetically connected than ever before. And that's all part of that expansion. So what Janet was suggesting was very, very helpful. What my suggestion is for you is to not resist it, because that's going to just kind of gum up the experience. And the other thing that I would suggest is finding your own self, because finding it your own way. Because in finding your own way of doing it, it actually helps you have your own way of discerning and have your own ownership over this process. Because this is the other thing, is the greater consciousness comes into form, each of us are experiencing more internal power than we ever had before. And in experiencing that power, that's also very disorienting. It's kind of like suddenly experiencing Niagara Falls running through our space. But if we're all at the place of seniority that we can create our own techniques and have them work for us. So what does that look like for you? Is it a way of wirelessly connecting to the center of the hologram or the center of the earth? Is it a way of being able to magnetically, have your feet on the ground and feeling that sort of magnetic connection?
And can you hear me, Joan?
I can hear you fine. I was hearing your typing in the background too.
Right, yeah. I love what you're saying, because there's all these different ways to notice things. And I can feel in this space, whatever space this is in, because I don't know what space I'm in except what I noticed about the space, is that what if in these containers and boxes, limits are shifting, reorganizing, something different happens. And it's kind of like, it feels like what it'd be like if your hand through something that you thought was solid. And noticing how your hand is moving. And I might offer that is just feel that space in front of you right in this moment. And just notice where your hand goes. Mine goes way through. And maybe it goes for you. Maybe it's the same. And hand a little bit over and notice that place. And just notice. Interesting. I haven't changed anything, but my experience with my connection would fluctuate. And I'll give that a try.
All right. So that's a good suggestion as well. And more to say about evolving containers of being is that whatever you define as yourself, whatever you identify with, besides your physical form, because a lot of us just that, our bodies, that's how we were acknowledged when we were little. Oh, that's a girl, that's a boy. And, your spitting image of your Uncle Sam or whatever, whatever we identify with, that's in the process of expanding and transforming. For some people, it might feel like it's disintegrating or going away. So it can be a very challenging time as you're going through this.
Wow. Things. Oh, audience, sometimes you just have to be here. Okay. All right. So it's always interesting when you do these shows live, which is always our joy, because we realize that we are in the middle of things and actively co-creating what happens with all of it. So just notice my sense of hit and miss here is that it's kind of like if you picture your box, what kind of box do you picture? If it's something, like cats, how cats will get in a box. Cats love boxes. They get in boxes, they get out of boxes, they'll make a box wherever. And it's kind of like that. It's just this total space, and they use it for security. They get comfortable, they feel protected, they feel safe, and then they get out of the box. And then they're in the box and they are playing with you outside of the box. And that's kind of what we're doing with ourselves, playing with ourselves in that way. And just notice what it is. Be that. And cats. Oh, it's interesting how they coming up as a theme today. And they just play. They're just in the moment. And we all enjoy those wonderful videos on YouTube, right? Shows animals play. So, what are we playing at, Joan?
Well, talking about being physically present, being on the same wavelength, being heard and clearly heard and understood. There's
yes.
And so it's a very interesting time. And the other thing I noticed is, we are used to, in this reality, matching energy. So everybody matches the same way. If you're with a particular family group, or if, you might notice this with, certain workplace departments, religious groups, people all match that same energy. And one of the things that is happening now as we're going through this expansion is that we're not matching those dense energy levels anymore. We are expanding and shifting beyond them. So then it becomes kind of hard to relate to or talk to people because, we're floating at a different space and the other people are, still on the factory floor, so to speak. And it's all here's the thing, is that we can all hear and understand each other as consciousness. In the old days, I would say as spirit, but it's that communication as consciousness is beyond listening to things, hearing things, and beyond language. So we can tune into and understand what people are saying, even if we can't hear them, if they're fading in and out. It doesn't matter because we're tuning into that on a higher and greater level. So it's a fascinating time. For instance, I'm next week, I'm going back to New York. I won't be with you guys next week. I'm going back to New York. My little brother had a stroke, and I'm going back to help his wife. And his wife is Chinese, and it's a very strong Chinese community. And it is a very interesting thing I am noticing as I'm in the process of navigating myself back there, is that I don't understand the culture. I'm going to have to use a lot of intuition to try to suss out, to discern the things that are going on, because there's like so much that happens on an unspoken level. And if you go to any country and immerse yourself in it, there's so many things that aren't defined that you have to pick up in a different way. How mystifying it can be.
And how exciting also. Right? It's how you engage it when we're not in resistance to that immersion. That makes all the difference, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I heard that clearly. That was perfect.
Okay.
Keep doing that.
Telling you what to do. Okay.
Well, and keep doing that. And it's interesting because we have been in a time of all planets retrograde. It's been a fun time there. If there's like 8 planets in the solar system, or 8 acknowledged planets in the solar system, 7 of them were retrograde. We are actually now in a point where 2 major influencers are turning direct. So we have been feeling like wanting to go forward, and our brakes have been on. And movement is starting to happen. There's still some major ones out there in the sky where things are still kind of snafu'd, but it has been a very interesting time of wanting to go forward, and the flow has been backed up.
I think yeah. I'm sorry.
You had I wanted to reflect on something you had told me just before the show, and it had to do with flow and relating with people, because I think that would be really useful if we could put that into layman's terms or street language. I don't know if you can do that, Janet, but it was another really useful thing, because I'll say, and I'm going to ask you that question outright, is how we are used to being in the world and how we are used to expressing ourselves, what our innate purpose is shifting and changing. So we're still essentially who we are, but how it's showing up in the world is completely different. And so you were talking to me about flow and relating with people.
Well, okay, I think in the context that you're referring to, we each have a center of being, right? And for me, that is consciousness. It's consciousness, and when we form around that, when we decide we're going to be incarnated. And this is, you take this for what it's worth, and whatever your systems of how you hold awareness of who you are. For me, there's consciousness, and then we have form, because we have potential and then energy, and we are an energetic body. And at our core is always potential. So I'm going to see people or hold awareness of people in the terms that how they relate to that flow as consciousness within that is the core that has some of this form around it. And so that's why it's not out there to me. It's always in here. And I form around that core, and that core is everywhere. So we are directionally oriented often to know where we are as a placeholder in consciousness. And so we have a sense of flow. Goes up, goes down, goes in, goes out, goes over there, comes over here. Flow is just identifying patterns of movement. Well, we're multi-directional, so flow is everywhere. But what I was identifying was how you as your being expression of consciousness has a certain centering within you. And that flow has always been for you in an organizational place from top to bottom.
Right. That's
Right?
my original training. Well,
That's
my
your
original training
training.
was about incarnating into form.
Mm-hmm.
So the energy flow would go from outside yourself in through your crown chakra and down into your body.
Down through, yes.
But all of that is turned topsy-turvy because there isn't any inside or outside. So it does help for me to shift out of my old patterns to tune into it coming from within. But the feeling within is that it's infinite. It's like you go in there and you're in this vortex. It's
right.
wild.
Right, where everything's coming together and then going outward, or coming in and going out, or it's all places at all time, and it's just where you notice your interaction with it and your awareness of it. And so in noticing this time, it was like, oh, all this stuff coming in was sort of riding that flow, and it was going from below out and out. And so it's a different, you're still there, you're still everywhere, and it's just how information coming in people and thoughts and emotions and all the different ways we notice something, was organizing it, and it was just in this upward flow, which feels very different than how you had organized yourself before. So that means that your awareness is in shift also. And it's never a negative thing. We don't use it in that framework. It's just different. And it's important for all of us this time to realize there's no top, there's no bottom, there's no left, there's no right, there's no inside, no outside, unless we choose to have that construct. And how it's useful to have the construct. Those are the limits. That's the container. That's the box. And where it becomes this in the moment, this in the next, this in the next, and it starts to build this resonance of just a different sense of harmony and all over. And still there's integrity, something holding together that action. So I think that's how.
Yes, that's true. And again, it takes heightened telepathic abilities to completely comprehend. So here's the thing is that, if some of the stuff is over your head or whatever, just realize that you're getting this as consciousness. It's coming in beyond your mind machine or beyond your brain or your body's GPS. However you want to describe it, it's coming in. But it is, it's coming in maybe at a frequency that you can't fully hear or understand. And it'll seep into your consciousness, over the matter of days and weeks. It's very interesting to me how we pick up stuff and we immediately want to process it through our analyzers. We want to process it on a mind thought level. And so much of what is shifting and changing is that everything is coming in from all different particles of awareness everywhere. And it can't be fully discerned or defined or even translated through our mind. So I stop and I pause. So,
we're so funny. I think that internal technology upgrade really has a lot of value as a statement, Joan. That's very powerful. We were talking last night in group about how keeping up with technology, it leaves us kind of bewildered, or that you have to upgrade, you have to shift. The truth will come out. Okay.
Well, there's a lot of shift hitting the fan, so I'm not surprised.
And that, what it felt, do you feel relevant? Are your emotions up to date? We're putting ourselves so much information that it says it's different. It says it's different. We don't feel different. We just feel out of step. And if our ability to describe what we call progression, progress, is out of step with where our internal mechanisms are holding them. And so, build this lag time into our development here as we get
I want to take real quick here. I want to take a real quick announcement, which is to just remind everybody that if you want to know more about us, go to our website, Conscious Conversations with joanandjanet.com. And in fact, you might want to do that right now because we're going to stop for a commercial break. But stay tuned because when we come back, we'll be talking about evolving containers of being.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, and I am along here with Janet, and we have been talking about evolving containers of being.
Yeah, we got them all, right?
We've got lots of containers of being left, right, and center. And actually, that's a whole other topic for a whole other show is, parallel selves, because we do have multiple containers. It's like no woman has only one pair of shoes in her closet. So, and it's just a bit of awareness that what we thought our containers were and how we experienced our containers is in the process of evolving and shifting to something that is completely different. And life goes a lot easier when you just go with the flow, experience this with curiosity, rather than trying to fight it and make it go back to the saddle shoes you were used to wearing in the 1930s.
I think this is all about being, not fighting oneself. I don't think we appreciate how much energy and brain power, mind power that we are running under to the things. And it's become this thing, and how to just reorganize ourselves. And it's important to appreciate what rest is about, how many really truly rest, how many truly create space to just let whatever is going on in life go. And so we may need to be doing more of those sabbaticals, doing more things that indicate self-care. just to help ourselves. And that is not coming from an egotistical place. That is coming from a place of ego that appreciates what it needs.
Yes, thank you so much about that. Hey, I wanted to just remind folks of a couple of different things. I wanted to remind them, actually I wanted to inform them. I wanted to let them know that we have a guest next week because I'm going to be in Long Island. So you have so much fun. I am going to definitely tune in to listen, even though I can't tune in to talk. And we have our very popular friend Danielle Agnew. She is a gifted psychic, musician, actress, and author. And she's actually going to be in Portland next week. So on September 5th, next Wednesday, she's going to be coming here and telling us all about her Ascension Tour. She's going to be channeling information from the angels about what is happening in our world, why it is happening, and how we can activate the incredible miracle potential within us. It's going to be a 3-hour live channeling event, including a question and answer session, and you might even be chosen for a live reading during the event. So you can grab your tickets in advance online or at the door at the event, on the day of the event, at the Unity of Portland. General admission tickets are going to be $75, and VIP tickets are $155, which include a 2-hour after party with her and 40 other people. And this is seriously going to be a best blast ever. So join her and let's bring light to the planet. So that's going to be Danielle Agnew and her Ascension Tour. You can get those online. Go to danielleagnew.com, and we really look forward to connecting with her next week. I also want to remind folks about how to stay in touch with us after the show is over. So if you like us and you want to know more, we invite you to go to our website, which is consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And there you can listen to all our podcasts. You can also read our blogs. We do weekly blogs, Janet and myself, and also you can find out about our meetups. We have meetups all around the Puget Sound, and Janet does hers in her lovely home in Portland near Reed College on Tuesday nights and Thursday afternoons. We are also connected on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and so you can find the links to all of that on the site. I have my own YouTube channel, and I post my weekly videos on our website as well. If you go to our website, there is also a special listener offer. You can go there and enter your email, and we will send you a link to get to all of Janet's wisdom and tips for this transformation. And you can also have a special technique from me, my consciousness technique. It's a video training on very simple, effortless way to completely transform your life. I also want to let you know that I am going to be at the Emerald Spiral Expo, which is in Kent, on September 22nd. It goes from 9 until 5. I'll have a booth there. I'll be at booth 50 if you're in the area. And I will be doing a talk about rediscovering your purpose and regaining your passion, and that will be at 1 o'clock. Now, for all of you guys who exist in other locations around the planet, I'm also going to be doing a special webinar of that topic. It will be when I come back from New York, so it'll probably be either the last week in September or the first week in October. So stay tuned because I will post that information on our website, consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. Now, the other thing is that Janet has groups on Fridays, Thursdays. They're on Thursdays. She has 2 groups on Thursdays, and she does them by Zoom, which is just like Skype, but it's a wonderful avenue to connect with her, and it's an amazing experience about being in form. And I just completely blanked on exactly what times those are. So, Janet, when exactly are your groups on Thursday?
My groups on Thursday are 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific. And so it's a busy day because I have my afternoon group here. So lots of things cooking on Thursday.
Zoom and meetup groups in your home.
Zoom and meetup groups, yeah, definitely. The Zoom is fun because we have people from New Zealand and Colorado, California, and Texas, and so we're all in different time zones. We're in different days. And it's very interesting to be together and notice what happens with that, because it does give us that loosey-goosey about time and space. definitely gives it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. People don't realize that you don't have to be standing in front of somebody to have an energetic connection. That's why distance sessions are so powerful. There is no time or space as consciousness. And so sitting on Zoom with a group of other people around the globe, you can have that same up-close and personal experience as if you were actually in her living room in Reed College, near Reed College.
You do feel it, Joan. I mean, you do feel it. We put hands up, at some points, and so everybody's on screen and got your hands up, and it really, it's always there, but it's always fun to feel that interface through your skin, right, through that palm. Those palms really just take in a lot. So.
Yeah, well, we have chakras in our palms, or at least we used to. I have no idea what's going on now. So it's kind of like open up the hood of the car and realizing that you own a new Tesla, and I have no idea what all those things are in there.
Well, vortexes are real, right? Yes. They're everywhere. And that's basically what a chakra point is. It's a vortex of where information comes in and you relate to it in some way. It's nice to think there are particular points, but what if you went beyond points? What if your whole being was taking in information in all these different ways, places, and spaces? It's just a nice way to organize it. It makes it easy. You can identify it. And there's a comfort in that. So we don't fault that at all. We just appreciate that when you need that information organized that way, you need it organized that way and get it.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
So you're going to have fun with Danielle Agnew. Anything else you're going to talk to her about?
Oh, gosh.
Talk with her about?
Yeah. Danielle is always fun because she's totally connects to the idea, the reality, the premise, the principles, that information is everywhere and that it has form, it is out of form. We're not limited by the comfort of what we think our eyes see and notice. And that's really so groovy. You can really groove in lots of different directions when like the way we do. We just write it and accept it and we don't question it. We notice it, maybe out of our reference point, but that doesn't mean it's not real. And there's also the engagement of that there can be more than one right. What happens when you're both right about something? You're not wrong. You're both right in your reality. And so that gives us a different conversation than to say that I have the right way, which is what we hear a lot in our different arenas of thinking. And so the challenge.
Yes, and really quick, I want to let folks know, I forgot to mention that Danielle Agnew has a really great blog, and that is at calltolight.org. And she's also on YouTube as well, so if you go and look up Danielle Agnew, E-G-N-E-W, she has a great YouTube channel as well. And it's going to be a really fun combination of energy, because when she gets really excited, she sounds a little bit like Minnie Mouse. So it'll be just a really fun combination, both of you guys together, and I'm really going to miss it, but I'm going to actually listen to it, so I won't miss it.
Well, we'll make sure you're included, Joan, because the body's not important, right?
Right, exactly. There is no time or space as consciousness. So I also like to let people know at this point is that, you are helping to co-create this show regardless of where or when you're listening to this. So if you're tuning into it live, more power to you, fantastic. But also if you're listening to it later, and it doesn't matter, how many years in the future you're listening to it later, there is no time or space as consciousness, and you are actually energetically helping to create the morphic field of this show right now. And we so appreciate your contribution. It is so much fun having you as our audience. And I just want to let folks know that you have been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. And thank you all for joining us as Consciousness Expressing and Evolving.
Bye, everyone. Enjoy
Tune in
life.
next week. Same time, same channel.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.